Hi, I'm Vaaughnette Bigford. I'm an entertainer. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a mother, a wife, a friend. I'm telling you a little bit about my childhood. I was born, raised, and I still live in Brea. The last of, I would say, my grandfather's children because he raised me like his child. So I was raised in a really big, loving family. Took part in almost everything art related, music, drama, dancing. As long as it was on the stage, I was on the stage. I had a wonderful, wonderful childhood filled with love, filled with excitement, filled with friends and playing in library, of course, so real country living, but it was beautiful. I had a wonderful childhood. I have no complaints about my childhood at all. Yes, so I have always been on stage since I can remember. My earliest recollection of stages was when I was 7 years old at Naprima Bowl. I've always been singing, always been on stage. I participated all through my childhood and school years in all the arts and art related stuff. So I was always on stage. I started singing while I was in secondary school. Kind of shelved it for a bit to focus on the academics and started singing professionally at the ripe old age of 30. Yeah, so that was me, always singing through school and then shelving it for a while and then started back, thinking that I wanted to make this a profession when I was 30 years old. So I just kind of made a decision to do it and put things in place to ensure that I went in the right way, try to do it, the approach it as professional as possible. So I mean, when I jumped into the music at age 30, I always knew that I could sing. I tell people, I know I have a voice. I tell people it's not particularly the greatest voice in the world, but it's a voice. It's my voice. And I think when I started singing professionally and coming into my own and understanding who I am as Vaaughnette Bigford, this Caribbean Trini Labra girl, and appreciating that, when I started appreciating self more, I think I got a lot more kudos and appreciation and love from people. I guess maybe because they realize that I'm as honest with my gift as possible. I'm singing from my soul. I'm trying to communicate as much as I possibly could, and they received it with that intent. So people really kind of started responding I started off in jazz, but people started really responding and loving what I did when I started kind of delving into the music of Trinidad and Tobago. And that would have been coming close to my late 30s. And then I said, you know what? This is where my focus has to be. I was influenced by so many musicians. First and foremost, I listen to a lot of music. I listen to all different genres of music. I listen to all different types of singers. I listen to a lot of instrumentalists. I'd like to say my local influences started, of course, with Clive and Carlton Alexander, because I started singing with Carlton when I first came out. And then I hooked up with Terrence Shaw, who played a gig with Carlton Alexander, and Terry became my mentor somewhat. So Terry has really influenced a lot my sound and the way I approach music, and how professionally I took or how professionally I took it in. The whole approach to the business and the product. So Terry Shaw locally, Ming, Chantal, Mavis John, Carol Addison, all of those. And internationally, I'd like to say my favorite singer is Carmen McRae. I absolutely love her style. I love how she phrases. I love how she tells a story. Donna McElroy from Boston, Janice Pendavis from Boston. Those are some of my really heavy influences there. So of course, those of you who know me know that I worked in the oil and gas industry for 20 years. I had a really wonderful job that I absolutely adored. I was a health and safety professional with Petrotrin for 20 years. And on the closure of Petrotrin. And of course, I planned to work up until my retirement. I would still have 13 years to work. I planned to work up until retirement, but of course, that company was closed down, and we found ourselves kind of floating. Me trying to figure out what's the next step. I mean, I always had music. I never intended to be a full-time musician because I loved my job, but the closure of Petrotrin kind of forced me into, you know what, Vaughnette? Don't look for another job, get into the music. It was really, really challenging. To be honest, I still have my moments of, seriously, I have no day job and I have to do this all on my own. But I mean, I think I don't want to say I'm past it, but I'm past dealing with the fact that this is now the new dispensation of Vaaughnette Bigford. I had a lot of ups and downs, plenty downs when it just happened, because I tell people I like safe. I'm not much of a risk taker, contrary to popular belief. I prefer it to be safe. So it was challenging actually kind of trying to figure out how to maneuver out of the world of a salary at the end of each month into your input being your output. But I'm working on it daily. Still challenging at times, but forward movement, I tell people, and if I were to be very honest, I had never seen myself as the maternal type. To be honest, really, sometimes I still don't even see myself as the maternal type, but I have a son. He's 7 years old, and I absolutely adore him. He adds such value to my life. I see so much of myself in him. I guess that is what scares me, because I wasn't really an easy child, but I see a lot of myself in him. But he has taught me a lot about patience and understanding that the world doesn't revolve around me. It's like everything that I do now, I have to consider that I have this 7-year-old. So it makes you a whole lot less selfish, and of course plenty patience, and of course because he's also not easy. He is 7 going on 75. He questions everything. You can't just tell him anything and assume that he's going to just, okay, my mother told me this. He questions everything. So I know I have to keep on my toes all the time. I have to make sure I keep up with the experts, as they say, keep up with all the other day he called me sus. Sus, I didn't even know what that meant. It was actually short for suspect. When I'm moving strange, say you're moving kind of sus, So it keeps me on my toes, but I absolutely love it. I'm very honest about my challenge with. Now, I don't know if I like to call it depression, because I don't know if depression is something that has to be clinically diagnosed, or a doctor has to say this person is depressed. But I know that I deal with some sort of cyclical mood swing, inverted commas, depression thing, and I deal with that a lot. Lots and lots of lows. And when I get into that space, it's extremely difficult to come out. But I like to talk about it, because I found that when I acknowledge that there was some sort of cyclical thing that I deal with, when I acknowledge it, I was better able to manage it. I acknowledge, I'm very honest. I tell people that when I go into that space, it's very, very difficult for me. And it's about so many different things there. And I can't tell you what puts me there. Sometimes I can't tell you what takes me out of it. I just know that there's something that I go through that I call, in inverted commas, my depressive state, because I feel it physically. It's something that manifests itself physically. I feel it through my entire body. I've never been clinically diagnosed. I don't take medication, but it's something that I deal with. Most of the time I find that as I said, talking about it, sometimes I talk about it with some people. Sometimes staying silent helps. Sometimes just acknowledging the fact that, it's happening, and I may not have total control over it. And sometimes for me, just a little meditation, silence, a little prayer kind of gets me out of it. But I find that it's a lot easier to manage when I confront it, when I say, it is happening, or it has happened, or I suffer from this, as against, people think because I'm a public figure, I really shouldn't be this open about dealing with issues that are not happy and bubbly all the time. But I mean, I tell people, this is Vaaughnette Bigford. You get all of me. You get the good parts, you get me on the good days, and you're also getting me on the bad days. Yep. So the idea of me, I would have never thought 10 years ago, I would have never thought of Vaughnette the businesswoman, Vaughnette the entrepreneur, because as I say, I don't think I'm much of a risk taker. I like safe. Now I've always done events in that I started producing my first event in 2011. So I had my first sold out show in 2011, and I've been doing events ever since. But I always had the comfort of the job in case the event didn't go, the way I wanted it to go. So now I consider myself a full-time businesswoman. I'm in the event promotion business. I'm promoting my own events. I'm carving my own space. I'm creating events. And I like to say, for the mature audience, I'm not saying that the event is not for young people, but I'm saying that I know my target audience is a more mature audience, that and some of these people find that there are not very many options for entertainment for us when we get to 45 and over. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to go into event management or promotion full time, and all year, pew, pew, pew. Very rewarding, very rewarding. But when I tell you, sometimes nights I'm just lying there with the idea, sleepless nights wondering how I'm going to finance this, if this is going to work, what is going to happen to me if I want my money done, all kind of different things. But I have a really good support system. Friends, a husband who generally don't fuss over nothing. He'll just say, well, try it. Well, you were dead over $50,000. That's the way he talks sometimes, But it's a very challenging road. I really, I admire businessmen and businesswomen who've been doing this for years, because this thing ain't easy. It's all the joy when it's successful, but it's all the pain if it's not. And I'm kind of like a warrior. I have a base. I have people who follow me wherever and whatever I'm doing. They're there, and I'm extremely thankful for them. But still, it's a good thing I ain't had no hair, because I'm telling you, some of that hair would have fallen off with some of these events that I'm trying. But I trotting on. I'm going into it and loving the journey, to be honest, loving the journey. Yeah, I've discovered that I can multitask. I can generally, to be honest, I come from concept. I have a team. I have a team of people that will work with me. Arthur would produce most of the stuff. The husband who is there, Marva, who would do a little bit of the public relations stuff for me sometimes. But generally, most of the ideas from concept to finish would come from me. I get the idea of what I want this event to be and how I want this event to feel, what I want the people to experience. And I guess because I have been a patron, I put myself in that position to understand exactly what will the ultimate experience be for a patron, and try to kind of just incorporate that into my events. I had no idea that I was this resilient. I had no idea that all of these things could come from inside here. So I'm kind of a little impressed, because the concepts or the ideas are pretty original, some of them, and it's from cradle to grave. It's from start to finish. So to development of an idea from start until you see the finished product. And I'm sitting or standing at the event and seeing people having a wonderful time. I say to myself, well, Vaughnette, you did it. Yeah, you ain't do too bad. You ain't do too bad. So I guess maybe resilience and the fact that all of these ideas come from me, I'm kind of really proud of. Yeah. I have this belief that we are not going to get to where we want to go unless we support us. If we are not comfortable supporting we thing, then how are we to expect anybody else to buy into the idea that what we have is good? So I have gone, and it was a conscious decision, to be honest. It was a conscious decision to acknowledge and appreciate the fact that we in Trinidad have this wonderful product or these wonderful products that are manufactured, marketed, sold right here in Trinbago. And sometimes all we need is a space. So I'm telling you, I've gone on this drive to really promote local, I mean, extending to the Caribbean, but products, services, people out of this island, because we deserve it. We deserve this space. We have wonderful things happening here. And a lot of the music we don't hear on the radio, a lot of the products we don't see in mainstream media, but they're there. So I made a conscious effort that my events should always be reflective of who we are as Trinbagonians. And we have so much, a wealth of talent, a wealth of wonderful services, some wonderful artisans, some great small businessmen and women just really looking for a space. So I'm committed to providing space for us, for all of us, because I'm creating a space for myself as well, but for all of us, you know. I want to talk about, I mean, there's so many women. One in particular I'll talk about, and I guess it's because of my recent interaction with her. Carol Prince Mandela. Carol Prince Mandela is a businesswoman. She owns the business Prindella Fashions. Carol once worked at Brea, and I guess maybe suffered the same fate as I suffered when I had to leave corporate to venture out into the world of business, or in the world of whatever I wanted to get into. But Carol is such an inspiration to me. I see her coming out there, advertising her stuff, advertising her business, working, and she works extremely hard. She's at the point where I don't think she needs to be in her business every day, but she's there, working, building a brand, networking, because it's like a family thing now. People are connected to the brand and they feel part and parcel of what she's doing. And as somebody who came out of corporate and decided to go into their own thing, the journey is kind of very similar, and she is so. And she provides such encouragement, not only to me, but to so many other small businesses, so many other artists. She supports her. So she's there doing her thing, making her mark for herself, leading the way as a businesswoman, but also providing the space and providing help and advice and a number of different things to people who are also walking a similar journey. So I'll talk about Carol this year because she's really made her mark, and she's really made a mark on my heart as well too.